The knife slipped in my hand, frosting smeared across the counter, and I didn't even feel the cut until I saw the blood. Because across the room, over a pink birthday cake with 5 tiny candles still flickering, my father leaned back in his chair and said it like it was nothing. Like it was just another casual opinion over dinner. She's not really my granddaughter. The room didn't explode. No one gasped. No one stood up. That was the worst part. My daughter froze mid-laugh, her small hands still wrapped around a balloon string. Her eyes darting from his face to mine, waiting for me to correct him, to fix it, to tell her he didn't mean it. But I couldn't speak. Because he did. And my mother, she just sat there, folding her napkin slowly, like this was a conversation she had already had with herself, and decided not to interrupt. That was the moment everything shifted. Not loudly, not dramatically, but permanently. I never planned on becoming a mother the way I did. 5 years before that birthday, I was 29, single, and honestly, tired of waiting for life to line up the way everyone said it should. Marriage, house, baby, it all felt like a script I wasn't cast in. Then I met her. She was 2 years old, sitting in the corner of a foster center with a plastic spoon in her hand, tapping it against the floor like it was the only sound she trusted. No crying, no calling out, just quiet. When I knelt in front of her, she didn't smile. She just looked at me, really looked at me. And something in my chest broke open in a way I still can't explain. 3 months later, I signed the papers. She became my daughter. Legally. Completely. Irrevocably. And from the moment I brought her home, she filled every empty space in my life like she had always belonged there. I named her Lily. My parents didn't celebrate. They didn't protest either, not loudly at least. My father just asked a lot of questions that weren't really questions. Do you know her background? What if her real parents come back? You're taking on a lot. For someone else's child. My mother stayed quieter. She would smile, nod, even hold Lily when she visited, but there was always something distant in her eyes. Like she was playing a role she hadn't auditioned for. Still, I convinced myself it would change. People just needed time, right? Time to adjust. Time to bond. Time to see what I saw. And for a while, I thought it was working. My father would bring small gifts, nothing too personal, but enough to feel like effort. My mother baked cookies when we visited. Lily started calling them Grandma and Grandpa without hesitation, without doubt. Children don't question love. They assume it. That was my first mistake. The first red flag came quietly. So quietly I almost ignored it. It was Lily's 3rd birthday. We had a small gathering at my parents' house, just close family. My cousin's kids were there, running around, tearing through wrapping paper like it was Christmas. Lily sat beside them, her little dress wrinkled from excitement, waiting her turn. One by one, gifts were handed out. Bright boxes, big bows, laughter. And then, nothing. Lily looked at me, confused. Did they forget mine? She whispered. I smiled quickly, covering the moment. No, sweetheart. Maybe it's just coming later. My father chuckled from across the room. Oh, we didn't think it was necessary to go all out. She's still so young, won't even remember. But he had bought something for my cousin's 1-year-old. A gold bracelet. I told myself it wasn't intentional. I told myself I was overthinking. But that small moment planted something uncomfortable in my chest. Something that didn't go away. Over the next 2 years, the pattern became harder to ignore. Holiday photos where Lily was always placed at the edge. Family conversations where her name didn't come up unless I said it first. Gifts that felt like obligations instead of affection. And then the comparisons started. Your cousin's kids look just like their father. Good genes in that family. Blood always shows. Little comments. Small enough to dismiss. Heavy enough to linger. I confronted my mother once, gently. Do you treat Lily differently? She looked surprised. Of course not, she said quickly. You're imagining things. But she didn't meet my eyes. And my father? He didn't even pretend. "She's not ours," he said one evening, like it was the simplest truth in the world. "You chose her. That's your responsibility." I remember gripping the edge of the table so hard my fingers went numb. "She's my daughter," I said. He shrugged. "That doesn't make her my granddaughter." That should have been the breaking point. But it wasn't. Because I kept hoping. Hoping something would change. Hoping love would grow where it hadn't yet. Hoping my daughter wouldn't notice. But children always notice. Even when they don't understand. And then came her 5th birthday. The night everything stopped being subtle. Stopped being quiet. Stopped being something I could excuse. We gathered around the cake. Candles glowing. Lily beaming. I helped her hold the knife, guiding her small hands as we cut the first slice. Everyone was watching, smiling, pretending. And then my father said it. "She's not really my granddaughter," just like that. No hesitation, no apology. The room froze, and in that silence, I saw it all clearly for the first time. The distance, the indifference, the quiet rejection that had been building for years. This wasn't confusion, this wasn't adjustment, this was a choice. And my mother, she chose silence. That hurt more than his words. Because silence is agreement when it matters most. Something inside me cracked that night. Not loudly, not visibly, but deeply. I tucked Lily into bed when we got home, her small voice asking questions she didn't have the words for. Did I do something wrong? I kissed her forehead, swallowing the lump in my throat. "No, baby. Never." "Then why did Grandpa say that?" I paused. Because I could lie. I could soften it. I could protect her with half-truths. But I realized something in that moment. If I didn't draw the line now, she would spend her entire life trying to earn love that was never going to be given. So I told her the truth gently, carefully. "Sometimes people don't understand what family really means," I said. "But that doesn't change who you are. You are my daughter. Always." She nodded slowly, not fully understanding, but trusting me. And that trust, that was everything. That night, after she fell asleep, I sat alone in the dark, and I thought about something I hadn't thought about in years. Paperwork. 4 years earlier, before Lily came into my life, my parents had been in trouble. Real trouble. My father's retirement savings had taken a hit. Bad investments. Poor decisions he never admitted to. They were days away from losing their retirement home. The one they loved, the one they planned to grow old in. They didn't tell anyone, not at first. I found out by accident. And I stepped in. Quietly. No drama. No conditions. I took out a loan. A large one. And I used it to pay off their debt and secure the property. My father signed the documents without really reading them, too relieved to care, too proud to ask questions. My mother signed too. They trusted me. Or maybe they just needed me. The house was transferred temporarily into my name as part of the agreement. A formality, they called it. Something we'd sort out later. And then life moved on. Or so they thought. Sitting there in the dark, I realized something that made my hands stop shaking. They had forgotten. Completely. Forgotten who saved that house, forgotten what they signed, forgotten that their security wasn't entirely theirs. And suddenly, the imbalance I had been tolerating for years felt different. Not emotional. Not personal. Legal. Clear. Defined. I didn't need to argue. I didn't need to beg for respect. I didn't need to fight for my daughter's place in a family that refused to give it. I just needed to act. Monday morning came quietly. No drama. No announcement. I dropped Lily off at school, kissed her goodbye, and drove straight to a lawyer's office. I brought every document. Every signature. Every agreement. We reviewed everything carefully. Line by line. Clause by clause. And by the end of that meeting, the reality was undeniable. The house was mine. Legally, completely. They had rights to live there. But ownership? That was me. And that meant something. I didn't confront them immediately. I waited, not out of hesitation, but intention, because timing matters. And I wanted them to understand not through anger, not through words, but through consequence. A week later, my father called me, casual, almost cheerful. "We've updated the will," he said. "Thought you should know." I already knew what was coming. "And?" I asked calmly. "Well," he hesitated slightly, "we've decided to leave things to the biological grandchildren. It just makes more sense, of course it did." To him. I took a breath. "Did you include Lily?" Silence, then a sigh. "No, it's not personal, it's just how these things work. That was it. That was the moment. The final confirmation that nothing was going to change." So I said something he wasn't expecting. "Okay." He sounded surprised. "Okay, yeah," I said. "That makes sense." Because it did. Just not in the way he thought. 2 days later, they received a letter. Formal, precise, unemotional. A notice outlining the ownership status of the property they lived in. A reminder of the agreement they had signed. And a request to schedule a discussion about future arrangements. My father called immediately, angry this time. "What is this?" he demanded. "It's paperwork," I said calmly. "The same kind you just updated. You can't be serious." "I am. This is our home." I paused. "No," I said quietly. "It's mine." Silence. Heavy. Shocking. Real. The conversation that followed wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It was something far more uncomfortable. It was undeniable. Facts, documents, signatures. He tried to argue, tried to dismiss it, tried to turn it into an emotional attack. But emotion doesn't override legality. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't negotiating for love. I was setting a boundary. A real one. I gave them a choice. They could continue living there comfortably, securely under one condition. They would acknowledge Lily as their granddaughter. Not privately, not vaguely, but clearly, publicly, in their will, in their actions. Or they could find somewhere else to live. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't threaten. I simply stated the terms. And for the first time, my father had nothing to say. Because this wasn't about opinion anymore. This was about consequence. My mother called me later that night. Her voice was softer than I'd ever heard it. "You're serious about this?" she asked. "Yes, she's just a child." "I know," I said. "That's why it matters." There was a long pause. And then, finally, "I'm sorry," those words hit harder than anything else. Because they were real. Late, but real. A week later, they asked to see Lily. Not out of obligation. Not out of routine. But because they wanted to. My father didn't say much at first. He just watched her. Watched the way she laughed, the way she spoke, the way she existed in the world without questioning her place in it. And something shifted. Not completely, not perfectly, but enough. Months passed. The will was updated, her name included. Clearly, equally. But more importantly, the behavior changed. Small things at first, then bigger ones. Effort, attention, presence. Not perfect, but real. And one evening, as Lily sat on my father's lap, showing him a drawing she made just for him, he said something I never thought I'd hear. "My granddaughter is very talented." No hesitation, no qualifiers, just truth. I didn't win that moment with anger. I didn't win it with words. I won it with something far quieter. Boundaries. Paper. And the willingness to walk away if those boundaries weren't respected. Because family isn't just about blood. It's about choice. And sometimes, the only way to make people understand that is to show them exactly what it costs to forget it.